Hello, this is Gene Irwin, the founder of the 3D Business Launch Model, and today we're going to talk about franchise and development recommendations. The franchise world is full of opportunities and pitfalls, which can provide a fulfilling career, expanded employment considerations, and in some cases, a long-term association with an experience that you'd rather avoid. Some would consider hiring young people, which is required in nearly all food business models, to be little more than glorified adult babysitting. That may sound harsh, but when the majority of CGS or cost of goods sold is food and wages, you'll begin to see the picture. Shown are several examples of businesses highly dependent upon new, low-wage earners and costs of food. Nearly every business owner I've interviewed has thought about expanding his or her business by either cloning the original business, i.e., usually multiple retail stores, or using the franchisor model to sell throughout the world. Very few companies can support expanded operations. Shown below are McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, Taco Bell, Burger King, Wendy's, Kentucky Fried Chicken, and Sonic franchise models. I'm just going to read very briefly the amount of money needed to create and work with each one. McDonald's requires $1.2 million to $2.2 million worth of cost to open up a McDonald's. That's its startup cost. Chick-fil-A, on the other hand, is $10,000. Taco Bell is $1.2 to $2.9 million. Burger King, $1.9 to $3.3 million. And Wendy's is $2 to $3.7 million. Kentucky Fried Chicken, $1.4 to $2.8 million. And Sonic, $1.22 to $3.53 million. This is the amount of money required to start up the business. In fact, Business Insider says you must have at least $500,000 in liquid assets to open McDonald's, $750,000 to open Taco Bell, and $2 million in liquid assets to open up a Wendy's. So if you're not a millionaire, Wendy's is out of your picture. Potential franchisees need a lot of cash available to help fund startup costs, which exceed $1 million for most major fast food chains in the U.S. In addition to startup costs, franchisees have to pay ongoing monthly fees for royalties, advertising, and other services that can add up to more than 10% of gross sales. That's pretty gross. Franchise development is a lengthy process of understanding detailed franchise documents known as FDD, and especially the expansive warnings from the FTC known as a Consumer's Guide to Buying a Franchise. Both of these documents are extremely important, especially the Franchise Disclosure Document, or FDD, provided to you from the franchisor. Should you elect to become a franchisee, it outlines not only your duties and relationship to the franchisor. You may be surprised to learn that they literally control every aspect of your business, including advertising, business offerings, that is the menu if it's a restaurant, uniforms to wear, and seating arrangements. If you want uniformity, a franchise is a good way to go. But if you want freedom or latitude to try new things, not so much. I've owned franchises successfully and consulted for franchisees successfully and sold franchises. It is a complicated world, but could be just your ideal type of business opportunity. However, in some cases, you may just be buying yourself a job. Let's condense some of the details which I have found very important to you. We're going to look at various segments of the FTC's important document first, and then provide you with the information to download for your own copy. I'm going to go over some of the major points and leave the details up to you to review on your own. Don't discount the value of the FTC's warning and information. You can get a copy of the Consumer's Guide to Buying a Franchise by simply going to ftc.com and looking for the Consumer's Guide. You can download it there. A Consumer's Guide to Buying a Franchise. Shown below is the outline of the contents of the FTC's Guide for Franchises. I'm just going to point out some of the major chapters so that you be sure to research those on your own. The Consumer's Guide to Buying a Franchise points out such areas in detail as: is a franchise right for you? Finding the right opportunity, selecting a franchise, and discusses what the FDD must contain. It also includes costs, expectations, franchisor. Here are some of the costs. Advertising fees. Franchisor controls on your business. Terms and conditions on operations. Franchisee business model from the Federal Trade Commission. Cost expectations from franchisor include initial franchise fee and expenses, and continuing royalty payments for as long as you own the business. Additional costs including appearance standards of the franchise, restrictions on goods and services, method or methods of operation. They are going to tell you exactly how to run that operation in the way that they require of all their franchisees. Now we get to the most challenging part of owning a franchise business. Listen very carefully. There will be restrictions on where and when you can offer your services and products under specific conditions. Let me say that again. You will have restrictions placed on you on what you can do with your franchise in terms of offering your products and services to your consumers. Let me say it for the third time. You can't sell what you want, when you want, where you want. I'll remind you again. Your franchise is yours to pay for, but not yours to control. It is controlled by the franchisor, and you will not be able to sell your products and services when, where, and how you want to. You'll have to do it their way. You can't sell it into another area if you're not authorized to go there simply because it might be a protected territory. Or the franchisor might be selling an area directly to their consumers online. The franchise disclosure document is an item required by the FTC of every franchisor to give to you 23 different pieces of information. Some of those could be in a document that's 400 pages long. If there is a singular document to go through with a fine-tooth comb, it is the franchise disclosure document. You must go through this information carefully, as it tells you substantial information about the franchisor, the principles behind the company, and issues raised by previous franchisees. This is not something you want to make an emotional decision about, because you are most likely talking tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars up front, long before you see your first profit dollar. Take your time, go through it carefully. The Consumer's Guide to Buying a Franchise also contains detailed information about what to expect in the FDD from the franchisor. Some franchisor documents are over 400 pages long. Be prepared to go over several FDDs if you propose franchises before you consider making an expensive trip to their location for discussions. Most franchises will send you a copy of their FDD long before you need to expend funding for evaluations, site visits, etc. Beware of the smaller franchisors who say, well, you don't need to look at that information right now because you're not serious about buying a franchise. Transparency is a very important issue when buying a franchise. Be sure to talk with current and past franchise owners. I think you're surprised to learn there are many things behind the scenes that you did not expect in your favorite franchise. And that's the purpose of this franchise development series. Fortunately, there is a way to cover not only the consumer evaluation side and an understanding of the franchise offer potential long before you narrow down your decisions about which franchise. I've looked very carefully at the intent and content of the FBI, or the Franchise Business Review process, with a company up in New England, and have found them to be detailed in their comparisons of franchisors and franchisees, and with a very convenient way to cover a lot of ground right from your computer. I will show you some of the analysis content they use to give you the very best information in a timely manner. We'll discuss details of how to go about evaluating your own franchise opportunity. Just remember, the final decision to buy a franchise, although a very good pattern which may lead to business success, is no guarantee of it. As I mentioned, the FBR and the Franchise Business Review is going to help you compare franchises and give you the details of many things to consider in a very easy to understand format. They can be reached at https://franchisebusinessreview.com. Look them up. You're glad that you did. Use and develop industry resources to evaluate franchises in multiple ways. You're going to love using the FBR process. Once you've narrowed down your choices, we can then help you uncover which might be best for you. You'll find that they publish a lot of great material. Here's one of the most recent ones called Today's Top 200 Franchises, put out in the year 2022. Hall of Fame review of franchise opportunities throughout the United States and North America. You're going to enjoy the content and you're going to enjoy the process because it's going to help your understanding of franchisors and franchisees and the entire complicated process very simply and very directly. We're now going to take a look a little deeper into the Franchise Business Review and understand how they structure their information, so that it makes it easier for you to understand. So there are 4 major categories. I want to show you these very briefly. Well, number 1 is featured franchises. Underneath that is by investment size. Or number 3, special interest. And then my favorite, by industry. So no matter what you want to do, no matter what your experience is or background, you'll be able to search these through the most popular franchises, or the least expensive one, or the one that has most interest to you, like recession-proof franchises, for instance, underneath special interest, or by industry. Maybe you want to be in the pet services industry, or perhaps you want to be in education. So there's a little bit of everything for everybody. Take your time, go through all the details in the Franchise Business Review. You'll be glad you did. Then once you select in the areas, you're going to find a sequence inside the Franchise Business Review model that helps you narrow it down to 2 or 3 companies that most likely will fit everything you're trying to accomplish. Take your time, go through all the materials on their website. You'll be very, very glad that you did. During the franchise development process, the key to finding and understanding the process of franchise development is to fully understand what the FTC publishes concerning the strengths and weaknesses of the franchise business route, including what to look for in detail. The franchise disclosure document, required to be published by every franchisor and available to each potential franchisee prior to contractual agreements, must be reviewed very carefully. I'll say that again. Must be reviewed very carefully by you and your investment team. My recommendation is to take full advantage of what the following excellent resource has for you in terms of franchise comparisons and a complete review from franchises of all costs and markets and all special interests. You'll be fully informed and very comfortable with their techniques and answers. So go to https://franchisebusinessreview.com. We'll be very glad that you did. Their sequence will help you get to the final solution before you have me engaged in helping you complete the process of franchise acquisition. This is Gene Irwin, the founder of the 3D Business Launch Model, rounding out the 3rd process called the Franchise Development Recommendations. We hope you enjoyed it. Have a good evening.